welcome to quite a unique video where I'm going to break down all of my case opening stats and a whole bunch of other CS stats so you guys can see what I spent, what I lost, and opening cases in general is probably not such a good idea. The website I'm going to be using to get a lot of my statistics is called Loot Spectrum. They're not paying me or anything like that. They just have an exceptional plugin that goes through all of your inventory history so you don't have to track anything yourself. It does it all automatically. If you guys are interested in seeing your stats, I'll leave the plugin down in the description below. In total, I have opened, not including fever cases, 64,955 cases. Of those, 51,885 have been Mil-Spec. That's about 79.87% of everything I've opened are Mil-Spec, which is actually slightly below the CS2 average. Technically, I should have got about 27 more Mil-Specs, but the fact it's below average is actually a good thing because that means in the other higher rarities, we can make up those percentages. So I ended up getting 10,461 restricted items, which is about 16.1% of all the skins that I unboxed, which is actually above average because the average is 15.98, which means I had 81 more restricted items than I should have gotten. I've got 2,011 classified items. This unfortunately is slightly below the average being about 3.2%. Mr. Gaben owes us about 68 more classified items. In terms of the coverts, we got 418 total, which is exactly spot on with the average of 0.64%. And I got about 2 more than I should have. But in terms of the golds, the rare special items, I have unboxed 180 of these total, meaning a 0.2777%, which makes it higher than the average. We've actually got lucky on the golds, the average being 0.26%. We should have gotten 168, so we got 12 more golds than we should have. The value of all of these golds added up together, $103,560, meaning the average gold that I get is about $575. For me, this average seems way too high because I've just got a bunch of gut knives in my mind. But the statistics don't lie. The first knife I ever unboxed was this gut knife Boreal Forest back at the beginning of 2014. And the latest gold I've unboxed was a pair of Hydra gloves case hardened a few days ago. The best gold that I've ever unboxed is this butterfly knife Gamma Doppler, valued today at slightly under $4,000. And I got it in this video right here. The best covert I've ever opened is a Fire Serpent back in 2014. It's well worn as well. The best classified I've ever opened was this P2000 Ocean Foam in Minware. Best restricted, this StatTrak Glock Dragon Tattoo. And the best Mil-Spec, this StatTrak USBS Stainless. In fact, actually, it's crazy that is valued at $150. How much have I spent on just keys alone? Well, that comes out to a grand total of $162,000. But this is nothing compared to how much I've spent on cases, because this comes out at $491,000. We'll round it up to 492, which means my total spent in Counter-Strike on keys and cases, just unboxings in general, this isn't including trade-ups or souvenir packages or capsules or anything like that, just boxes, is $653,000. The total value I managed to get from that 650k in skins is, little drum roll, $309,000, which means I've had an investment loss in CS2 cases of $344,000, meaning my return on investment is minus 52.69%. There may be an anomaly or two that will boost this overall value, like the #1 float StatTrak PP Bison that I unboxed, the best StatTrak float skin in the entire world that I ended up selling for about 8,000. But those anomalies are going to be probably less than 15,000 total. So my return on investment is still at least minus 50%. Everything I spend on CS2 unboxings, I lose at least half of. Having spent $650,000 purely on CS cases alone is pretty absurd. I could buy a mansion in Uganda. It looks pretty sick. I could buy at least 2 Lamborghinis. I've always wanted a Jacob & Co. Astronomia. I could buy a couple of those. And my favorite knife, the Karambit Fade, I could buy 216 of them. I think you get the idea. It's an absolutely ludicrous amount of money to have spent on Counter-Strike. My most busy unboxing year was 2024, where I unboxed 23,000 cases. It's right at the beginning of April right now, and I've already unboxed 9,000 cases. So 2025, we might even beat 2024 at this rate. My longest Mil-Spec streak, 62 Mil-Specs in a row. That's absolutely crazy. 9 restricteds in a row, 3 classifieds in a row, 2 coverts in a row, but unfortunately I've never got the back-to-back knife. I've only ever had a streak of 1. My most open case is the Revolution case, then it's the Dreams and Nightmares, then it's the Operation Phoenix, then the Shattered Web, then the Revolver. My luckiest case, however, is coming in at number 6, the Operation Broken Fan case. And I average 0.52% pulling golds in this specific case, which is about double the average. My unluckiest case, however, is the Falchion case with 0.08% gold ratio. That's pretty much all the stats I can think of for the case openings. That's not the only thing that I do on this channel. I also open souvenir packages, and my most active year doing that was 2022. This was the year I opened Stockholm 2021 Dust 2 souvenir packages non-stop until I got the gold arabesque. I literally ended up opening 10,000 or so in a row before I pulled the gold arabesque. Bear in mind the average should be 1 in 4,000. I got crazy unlucky. And we can also see all of my other package statistics, like how many Cobblestone packages I've opened, which is a grand total of 510 Cobblestone packages. Given that these things are worth, on average, minimum to be honest, $1,000 each, that is over $500,000 in just Cobblestone packages alone. And I can proudly show off all the coverts that I've managed to get. So my very first covert, it was the Souvenir Orb Dragonlore in Factory New. I'm sure some of you guys remember that if you're old school enough. And then I managed to conquer every single other covert ever from a souvenir package. And I might be the only person in the entirety of Counter-Strike to have ever achieved this. Every single covert souvenir possible from the game, I got it. Along with a gold from every single case in the game. If Valve gave out awards, I'm sure I'd be owed a couple. Let's look at our drop. The most drops I received was in 2014. That makes sense. I think they were dropping a lot more regularly back then. And from just playing the game alone, I've managed to earn $6,000 in drops. This includes weapon skins, this includes cases, graffitis, and my most dropped item is actually the Operation Phoenix case. So there we have it, minus $300,000 on just cases. I'm guessing maybe around minus $300,000 on souvenir packages as well. But there's one more section I'd like to check out, and that is the trade-ups. Because obviously I do a lot of those and they are very risky and expensive. With trade-ups, it's impossible to tell the money spent with a tool because different float skins have different values and I massively overpay for low floats along with the rest of the community. So it also depends who's selling it, the rarity of the collection that they're selling, and how desperately I want or need it for the video. So I'll have to probably estimate that I've spent more on #1 float trade-ups than I have opening cases. Cases tends to have a price ceiling. The most expensive case in the game, the weapon case 1, and that's just under $100. Whereas in some of my trade-ups, I've been paying $10,000 for one single input in the trade-up, for example, in the Dragonlore trade-up, making that one contract cost like $100,000 just by itself. And these trade-ups, I usually make them very, very risky. 10%, 20%, so I end up failing hell of a lot of them. I invest a load of money, and then my 10% doesn't hit, and I'm left with blood in the water. So it's really all or nothing. The return on the trade-ups is way worse than the CS cases. I'd be happy with a minus 50% on the trade-ups, but it's got to be like maybe minus 80. I'd estimate personally that I've spent $1 million or so on just trade-ups. If I spent 650k on just cases and keys, then I think that's pretty accurate. And if we take maybe a 70 or 80% loss ratio of that, that means minus another, let's call it 700,000. And that's not even thinking about things like 2014 Katowice capsules, which I've paid a bunch of like 10k each for and gotten terrible stickers out of. So I have easily lost over $1 million, which is a pretty depressing statistic to think about. There's loads more advanced stuff that's going to be coming to Loot Spectrum soon, so feel free to check them out. They're a really, really useful tool, and you can join me in my depression, seeing how much you've spent and how much you've lost. Why do I continue to do this if I've lost so much money, and doing it is a guarantee that I'll continue losing more? Well, two reasons really. Firstly, it's because I've earned more than I've lost. So financially for me, it's a good decision. Not only that, obviously it's part of my business, so I can write off these keys and these cases as business expenses, and they become tax deductible at the end of the year. And secondly, because I just really love entertaining you guys. I know that you guys want to see me spend crazy amounts of money on ridiculous things. So that's exactly what I provide for you. So I hope everybody enjoyed my very honest, very realistic breakdown of my Counter-Strike stats. I normally made a video fairly recently that was quite similar to this, and I got a whole bunch of comments on my channel saying, hey, we want to see your version. So here it is. Over $1 million down in CS, and we're probably going to make it over 2 million in the next couple of years. So this is just a reminder. If this isn't your business and you're not earning more than you're losing, I'd stay away from the CS2 cases. I hope everybody enjoyed the video. If you did, slap that like button. It's always massively appreciated. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take it easy. Peace.